Welcome back to the live stream. Today is December the 6th. We're here 10 o'clock in the morning. 9:30 opening bells already occurred. Today's news, there was one red folder event at 8:15. It was ADP non-farm payroll change that came in negative today. Well, not necessarily negative, but below forecast, below expectation. So far in the daily candle, we had a big push up to about 16,030, 16,030. And then we saw it pull all the way back down to 15,900, which is around where we're sitting now. So we're just going to give it a few candles to print and see where we're headed and see if we're at a low and we're getting ready to bounce up, or if this is truly our direction for the day, where we made a spike up earlier just to make an up wick, and we're actually bearish for the day. So let's just sit back and relax and wait and see. But again, welcome to the channel, anyone who's new. This is LP Capital. We're doing live streams on Nasdaq every morning at 10 o'clock. Also, we're doing afternoons from 1 to 3. I've been going to 4 o'clock. I'd like to slow it down around 3 o'clock. But price this week so far, and even late last week, has been a lot of consolidation. So it's been a lot of waiting around. So I've been extending it until 4 o'clock. But again, welcome. Good to have you. For anyone new to the channel, I've been using a 30-second scalping model for the past, I guess, couple months or so. Been working on this. I picked it up from a few other traders and back tested it for a while. Did a couple months of back testing and then adopted it as a model that I'm using. I'm using it for a Top Step Combine, $150,000 challenge. So if you want to follow that journey and follow me on my Combine journey, glad to have you. Please subscribe to the channel, and then you can follow me whenever I'm on live in the morning or New York afternoons. And we can achieve this Combine dream together. Just setting up my trading tool for whenever I'm ready to take a trade. It's already set up. You don't have to put in any parameters. You just right click it, ask it to create a limit order, and you're pretty much done from that moment on. So I like to get them set up prior to actually needing to trade. With the scalping strategy that I'm using a 1-to-1 risk reward. There's a 5-point stop loss and a 5-point take profit. Then I extend the take profit by 1 tick, so 0.25 points. So you'll see right here, it says target 5.25. And so that's the extra tick that I added to the target, and that extra tick covers any type of commissioning fees that the broker imposes on the account for entering and exiting trades. Okay, on the screen is an example of what a trade setup would look like. So let me remove this and I'll just briefly walk you through it. So what we're looking for is first is a trending market. The reason why this wouldn't have been a trade I would have entered is because the market wasn't trending. Um, in fact, if anything, it was trending bearish, so it was trending downwards. But we did have a shift in market structure right here. After the shift in market structure, what we would have been looking for was a low being swept. Actually, let me take that back. Yeah, okay, sorry. All right, so shift in market structure actually would have had to have taken place here. Then we had a sweep of the low. Then we had a new high made. So this was the previous high. We had a breakthrough. Then what we would have wanted to do is then the manipulation, which would have been the move, this last move down, which was manipulation because price really wanted to go higher. So you set that up. And then you look for 30% retracement. So when this candle made a new high, then we saw this next candle break down to 30%. Even the next candle just passed it slightly, which would have tapped you into the trade. This would have been the trade setup. And the next candle, this one would have delivered the profit. So in a nutshell, that's the scalping model. I'm not 100% sure about this market structure break. So again, I was just trying to see if it would have worked out, but I wasn't very confident in that setup. It wasn't trending in a bullish momentum like it is now. Now we could consider this potentially a reset of the trend, and now we're starting to trend bullish. We had new high made here, a new high, new high, new high, which actually took out this high as well. So we could see it as trending now, whereas down here it wasn't necessarily trending. So I wouldn't have wanted to take a trade; it would have been too risky. But where we are now, we now have a new high. The low that has been made is here. So if this low is swept, then we can start looking for potentially a setup. Whenever a new low is made at a higher level, we just want to shift what we're looking for up to that new level. So now this would be the low that we want to see broken. I mean, the next candle could come down, break this low and this low, and that's fine. But all we need is a minimum of one low to be broken. So you want to continue to shift higher until you get to the very top position, because it may only break through this low and then continue higher. And you want to make sure that you catch that and you have your trade set up. Looks like maybe it wants to make a new high. And it does. Let's make this a little larger. And we can see now there's actually a new low here. Let's shift down to 15 second. Take a peek. Okay, if we look at the 15 second, we actually, excuse me, had an entry earlier. Or let's see if maybe we did. So we would have had a swing low here that was broken. And then we had a push upwards. So then this high would have been broken right here by this candle. But actually, we have not had an entry because there has not been a retracement down into this level. So that wouldn't have been an entry, but we would have had a setup. Okay, back to the 30 second. Okay, now we've had a sweep of multiple lows. The last step, what we're looking for is a push upwards, and we need a new high to be made. Once a new high is made, then we have our setup. and we're still waiting for a new high to be put in. We saw this big move up, taking out previous highs from like about a half hour ago. Took out those highs. Then we swept lows that were created on the way up. Now, in order for our trade setup to be valid, we need now a new high to be put in. So we need price to buy up to around 15,973. Okay, we're now back at our session low. We just eclipsed our low that was created after the 9:30 open. Okay, now we want to sit back and we want to wait and see what price does. We're no longer bullish. That bullish sentiment is now over once we eclipse. I mean, really, once we eclipse this low, we're already no longer bullish. But then when this low was eclipsed, we definitely abandoned the trade idea. Now, as I look at session liquidity, looks like all previous session lows have now been swept. We just took out the opening day values at 1800 yesterday. You can see by this yellow fair value gap, or not even fair value gap, this yellow area highlighted here. This is the difference in values from the close at 1700 yesterday and the reopen of the markets at 1800. So we've completely wiped out any gains made from the opening of the market yesterday through London overnight and the early New York session this morning. As we get ready and continue watching price action, I'm going to go and refill my coffee quickly. I'll be back in less than 2 minutes. And I'm back. Right, let's see where price is. Okay, we're now back above the opening price from 1800 yesterday. We closed above, which is good. It seems like after putting in this low, and you can see down on the 5-minute chart, there was a fair value gap that was traded into, wicked all the way through. And now it looks like there's a bullish response to that trade down into the fair value gap. So let's just wait and see if we can get some more highs put in, um, as well as let's see if there's a low swept and then a high put in afterwards. Let me just clean up our charts a bit so we can see what we're looking for, what our next target is. What we want next, we want to be bullish and seek longs. I think this high needs to be taken. We need to look for that, as well as we need a low swept. So let's mark that up as the closest low. All right, and we have a new high. These double tops was just taken. We also show that there was a low taken here. Price has already moved out of the zone and moved back in. I was setting this up at the 50, but normally we set it up at the 30, even at the 30. You saw price come in, and at the 30, it is still a valid trade. And now it's a losing trade. The reason why I was setting this up at the 50 earlier was because there's a small set of consolidation here. And where the price was trading into, it was trading right back into it. And then even the victory or the 5-point take profit was still in the zone. And so because of that, I knew there would be potential for up and down movement. And so I was looking for a bit more conservative entry, and 50% is where that's the conservative entry for me. Normal entry is at 30% retracement. And here's 50% delivery again. Enough a bit. Let's wait for price to move out of this small consolidation before we look for a new setup. Again, when you notice this type of price action, this consolidation, this is where you want to avoid trades, even if you see highs and lows swept. Whereas we've had a low swept, we haven't had a new high. But even if you want to try to make a setup in this small little area here, I wouldn't advise it. I'm not saying there's no winning setups in there. It's just a risky setup to take. The purple line you see here at the bottom, this purple line is not a low that I need to see swept before the next setup. This is a low that I'm monitoring for. If it's eclipsed, then I may abandon the long ideas and start looking for potential shorts to come. What I would like to see is a break above this high, also a break above this high, and then a low to be swept. So we can start looking for setup in this area or higher. I don't want to see it break this high like it just did, then come down and sweep this low, and then break this high barely. So then the setup has to return in here. That's not what I'm looking for. I don't want to take that one, because there was already a winning setup here. Even if there was a losing setup, there was already a setup in this area. So there's no reason for me to look for a trade here. Okay. We now have our new high. We've also swept a low. And now we need price to reach for that purple line up top. And even if it doesn't, we need it to at least eclipse the previous high from 4 candles ago. Okay, so now we've had our overall high taken. What we want to do now is take this manipulation leg and mark that up. Okay. Before we could even set up a limit order, we would have lost the trade. And we see it now trading back into this consolidation zone. So it wasn't quite far enough out from what I would have liked. I thought we was just outside of the consolidation zone, but clearly this is all one big zone. So let's go back to the original plan, which was to take out this high, the purple line. Okay, there we go. More like it. Okay, right now we're just waiting for some of these wicks to calm down a bit. It's 5 minutes before the hour, so that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna wait until the next hour comes to start printing candles. That'll also allow this macro that's running from 1050 to 1110. That'll allow it to not only show its hand, which it's already started to do by taking out our high that we were waiting for, but let's see what else was on the agenda. Okay, we've had a new high. We've also had a low swept. Now we're looking for a new high here. Okay, we're now past the hour threshold. We're now into 11 o'clock. We still want to give price another 5 to 10 minutes to settle down and finish the macro orders. And while we wait, hopefully price will break out of this consolidation zone so we can look for a setup. We don't really want to set up inside of a previous trading zone, as we have this one and we have this one. So trading back into it is not exactly what we were looking for. Yeah, I was looking at the 5 minute time frame and just trying to get a feel for where price may want to go. And I just want to be aware of where it is right now and the fact that it could actually collapse from here and reach new lows for today. But right now it's still sitting in the middle and it's a bit indecisive. I'm going to step away for just a moment and I'll be right back. Put a note up for anyone who joins while I'm gone. Righty. Let's see where we are. Oh, what do you know? We're in the same place we were when I left. Okay, we technically have a setup now. The only difference is I don't want to take this trade because it would trade back into the consolidation zone. Um, but I'll mark it up just so it's clear to everyone and it's transparent that this would have been a setup. We had a high, then we needed a low to be swept. We had a low made here, lower low made here, even lower low here. So two lows swept, and then we had a new high made. So it should be that a retrace to 30% would be an aggressive entry. Conservative entry would be a retracement to 50%. And those are roughly 5 points apart. It did not retrace into 30%. It was about a tick away, 1 to 2 ticks away. Yeah, 2 ticks away from triggering a 30% entry. Okay, let's see if the retracement can go a little bit further this time. Okay, all 30% entries are in. 50% is now in. For anyone who wanted that trade, it doesn't fit my risk profile. Okay, let's see what the next candle brings. Okay, anyone entering on 50% retracement had a winning trade. Okay, let's now look at the 30% entries. Actually, the 30% entries had a losing trade because at the entry of 50%, that was the loss of the 30% entries. So in this situation, only those who entered at 50% would have had a winning trade. Let's see if you split the difference and decided to do a 40%. This is approximate. I don't have it marked up on my Fibonacci, but it looks like you would have been close to losing your trade. You'd still be in. Okay, so anyone with a 40% entry also had a losing trade. All right, so the issue we have right now is after making this high and we retrace back back into the zone, price has now been doing this type of situation. All right, so let me move some of this confusion for you. Okay, so if we look at this, what we have is high. I'm sorry, let's just start from the beginning. So we have a low, high, lower low, higher high, lower low, higher high, not quite a lower low, higher high. And now we're chasing for potentially lower prices. So the zone keeps getting larger and larger. And so with our scalping strategy, when it returns back into the zone, what it's doing is racing for the other side. So, but our scalping strategy expects a shallow retracement and then a continuation in into the direction of the trend. So the issue that we're having now is that price wants to continue to run to the other end, take out liquidity, and just continue to do that. So as long as it's just on a liquidity grab back and forth, we're gonna wait for price to leave this zone and decide where it wants to go for the day. All right, let's see where we are. Yep. It's going to continue pushing down. Most likely sweep these lows, find some support, and then start heading north. I'll take a look at the bottom left corner of the screen, down at the 5 minutes. I can see a bit more of price action. We have a fair value gap that it may want to play into down here at the 910 level. And here we are, just as I mentioned it. Up above, it's this faint purple line. You can't really see it. But it's the midnight open, if I'm not mistaken, from yesterday. So that may be where price also wants to play into. I take that back. This purple line is actually the 830. So it's the price from 830 this morning. So we may have a bounce from here up to the 830 and then see if we can go through it and continue bullish momentum, or if it'll reject and head back south. These lines you see on the chart, don't take this as a trend line of any sort. This is just loosely drawn up here as just to display and emphasize the point that price is expanding within a consolidation range. But it's not really moving out of the range or showing us where price is headed. So while we see price not close below this line is not anything to take a trade off of. Right? I could very easily have drawn this line like this. Drew this line here. Sorry, this Fibonacci. It's not really part of the strategy. I was just basically just playing a test in my head, just looking at if this range is going to continue. Then I could see no other choice than to go for longs down here. So I decided to take the extreme low, treat that as a manipulation, and see if the strategy of 30% retracement would work. And in this case, it did. I'm not saying it always will, or if that's something you want to take a trade from, but it's just sort of a forward test that I just took, and it seemed to have worked. So the 5-point stop loss would have looked like this. This high was made here, which took out this high. Traded back down 30% and immediately went to profit. See if I can move this over so it's a little easier to hear me. Just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. If you can hear me okay, let me know in the chat. Fair value gap here. See if that holds price. Okay, first one failed. Failure as well. Okay, let's see if we get a return back down to the opening gap of yesterday. It's technically today's opening gap, but it was created at 1800 yesterday. Okay, we just now had a tap down at the opening day gap. Sorry, the new day opening gap. You can see there was a bullish response to tapping in to that range. Okay, it's 11:30, and while price is settling in, let me go and refill my coffee for the last time today. I'll be right back. Hey, I'm back. I'm back. Let's see. Okay, price is out of the screen. What happened? Okay. Mark up that zone as a potential short. Okay, we've had a high taken now. Jump over to the 15-second and see what's going on in that time frame. Okay. So we actually had an entry here, a short on the 15-second. So we had a new low put in. Then there was a sweep of a high as it moved up. Then it put in a new low over on this side. And immediately following, the next candle traded up to the 30% mark and immediately traded out for profit. So in that case, 30-second didn't provide an entry, but the 15-second did. Okay, as we wait for this short to develop, what we're waiting for anyone who just joined or not familiar with the strategy, we're now waiting for this low to be taken. So we had the new low made. Then we needed a high to be taken, which we found. Actually, there was several. The first one was here, and this is on the 15-second. So there was multiple taken. Now we're looking for the low, which we just got. And now we'll set up. Trade. I was a bit slow getting that done. As you can see, actually, let me cancel that limit order. I was too slow, but it tapped right into the range and delivered profit in the same 15-second candle. One of the quickest trades you can enter. And as you can see, the reason why I don't like to enter after it's delivered is because now we're one tick away from losing this trade. Okay, it looks like this one may actually deliver as well. But it was one tick away from ending, from losing. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, so it came up for anyone who was looking for a 50% entry. One tick inside, and it already delivered profits as well. So that's something you can do. If you notice that you were a little slow and the 30-second already delivered, you can set it up for 50% and try it again. I wouldn't try the 30% a second time, but the 50% is within range. Okay, let's go back to the 30-second and see if yep. Okay, the 30-second still hasn't delivered yet. I hate I missed that 15-second entry. It's too slow. And that's another reason why I trade the 30-second. It's because it gives you just a little bit more time to actually set up the trade. The hardest thing on the 15-second is to identify it, to be ready, and to set it up. I'm a little slower setting things up since I'm talking and trying to pay attention to what I'm saying and passing on a message. But yeah, the 30-second gives you more time to set up your trade. But as you can see, it would have delivered as well. Bingo. Alrighty, so now we remove purple lines and we sit on our hands and we wait for the next setup. But in a nutshell, that's the scalping model. Trend, so we have a bearish trend. You want to then see it make a low. It did. You want to see it sweep a high. It did. And then you want to see it make a new low. And it did. And so from there, the movement in the opposite direction is manipulation. You want to Fibonacci that manipulation and take an entry on 30% retracement. And if you're more conservative than that, then you want to take an entry on 50% retracement, which 50% makes it a balanced price range, and then price can continue in the direction it was already headed. Okay, so now we have a continuation of the last move, continuation of the trend. So we had a low, We have not had a high taken yet, so we're waiting for that, and then we'll look for a new low. Lowest we have is this one. Let's go down to the 15-second and see if a high was taken. A high was taken on the 15-second right here. It tear through, and then it made a new low, which meant this would have been the manipulation. Meaning this would have been the trade. And it appears to be a losing trade. Yep. Okay, let's scroll back over to the 30-second. Okay, so we do have our high swept. We've had multiple highs swept now. 2, 3. And now if we're going to take a short, we need a continuation. So we need a new low to be placed. Okay, let's see if it will seek lower prices. If it does, we're looking for a short. Anyone watching this feed now, if you could like the video, that would help YouTube push the video out to more people. We can get more people and start having a chat and discussing trading as opposed to just me talking about what I see on the charts, because I don't have any questions or anything in the chat to discuss. If you want to join more and then get alerts to whenever I'm on a live stream, please subscribe to the chat. That's also helpful. At the moment, I love to get more people in here. So liking the video would help that tremendously. But if you are finding value in this session and you want to catch the afternoon session, or you want to catch the AM session tomorrow, make sure you subscribe so you get an alert for that. Okay, let me get rid of these lines since I really don't have any purpose any longer. I like to keep a clean chart so we can see price action a little better. As we're now sitting in a consolidation zone, we're waiting for lower prices so we can continue looking for short setups. If we don't get lower prices and price breaks out to the upside, then we'll begin to look for longs. Again, for anyone who just joined, we're looking for a new low to be placed. We're scalping. So originally we were looking at this downwards trend. We had downwards trend price action. We had a low put in. Then we had a high swept. This high was swept on its movement upwards, the manipulation. Then we had a low sweep. So this low was taken out on the move down, which was the first entry for shorts. Then we had a new low placed. So when a new low was put in, then we look for a high to be taken. We had this swing high that was taken over here. And then we were looking for a low for a continuation. We look for a short. We now have a break to the upside out of this consolidation zone. So we will abandon shorts for the moment. And let's let price settle for a bit and show us whether it's just a liquidity sweep above these highs and then it's going to continue movement downwards, or are we changing our sentiment over to bullish. Okay, this yellow area that's marked up here is, it's actually coming from one of my indicators. But what it does is this marks up the variance between the closing price at 1700 and then after the maintenance hour, the reopening at 1800. What we find is that gap is revisited several times throughout the day. So I like to have it on my chart so I know when we get to it. And so I can see whether that's going to become a magnet for price and we're going to consolidate in that area or continue to visit it. So far this morning, traded down to it right after 10 o'clock. It bounced out of the area, but then returned right back down. And we're now playing underneath it. So it's showing as resistance, whereas before it was support. And so before we switch back to bullish and start looking for longs, we want to make sure this is not going to be a resistance area, because that'll make it difficult to win our scalping trades. We want to see candles start to close above, not just wick above. So these wicks is price pushing up above the zone, but then for whatever reason, it's not closing above. It's returning back below prior to closing out the candle. So what we want to see is we want to see it close above, and we want to see several candles close above. What we see now, this is good price action. This is what we want. Okay, we've broken above now, closed above. Let's see how long we can stay above this area, and whether price continues to put in new highs or whether we start to see it trickle back down and put in some lows. Okay. That's a high we want to pay attention to. Okay, let's be aware of the time. We're at 11:56, so we're very near to the lunch hour. Lunch hour will typically chase liquidity that was created during the morning session. So what we have is we have bearish momentum. If you look at the bottom left corner, we have had bearish momentum all morning. So what that means is there are stop losses here. For anyone who was short, they put their stops above these levels. And so what you're going to see during lunchtime is you're going to see price start to cover in this gap, close it in. It may not reach this high, but there are going to be stop losses all the way down. And so it's just going to start collecting them and collect as many as it needs to until it's ready to return to bearish movement, if that's the move of the day. This could actually be a reversal to where now we're bullish for the rest of the day. But either way, what you find during lunch hour is for some of the stops to start being collected. Okay, we can now cancel this consolidation area. It's no longer relevant to us. This line can be removed. It's also been taken out. We've had several closes, 5 candles now above the new day opening gap range. So now that we are bullish, we're looking for lows to be taken because we continue to make new highs. So step 1 has already been done. We're looking for lows to be swept now. The closest low that can be swept is here as of right now. And I like that area because it can sweep below without crossing below this new day opening gap, which is an area we'd like to see it stay above if we're going to go for longs. It's what we want to see. We want to see a retracement. Retracement is going to allow us to either take a low from down here, or it's going to allow us to create a low that can then be taken. Okay, targeting the slow down here. If not, like I mentioned, we can put in a low and then come and then maybe trade out for 2 more candles and then sweep that low. And that still qualifies. We don't necessarily have to take this one. Hey, it's now 12 o'clock, just past 12 o'clock. I was thinking about ending the stream. If you want to stay on for a little bit longer, drop me a comment in the chat and let me know. Yep, so like I said, it can come down, make a new low, and then sweep that one. Then spend the next hour playing between here at 15,900 and 15,975, which is where most of the liquidity is going to live. You see on the bottom left in the 5-minute chart, these 2 purple lines. It's where liquidity is going to lie. And it'll be easy targets for lunchtime movement. See, here you go, a sweep of the low, a touchdown onto the new day opening gap. And now let's see if we can push for higher prices. If we push for higher prices, then we have a long setup. Yeah, I haven't seen anything in a comment about staying on a little bit longer. So I'll give it another minute or two just to see how this setup works. See if it does anything where we want to look for a trade. And after that, I'll break until the afternoon session. there any questions before we get off? Any questions about the strategy? Any questions about what's going on with price action today? Any questions about anything really? Current events, anything, whatever you want to talk about, it doesn't matter. I like for this space to be interactive and not necessarily just be about the candlesticks. This yellow area here, this is the new day opening gap. So each day there's a so at 5 o'clock New York time the market closes, and it closes for 1 hour. During that maintenance hour, it opens back up at 1800, and if there's a gap between the closing price and the new opening price, then I have an indicator that places this box here. And what happens is you find that throughout the day price continues to return to that gap. It'll trade back to it several times. We had that yesterday, and we're having it again today so far this morning. And so I have this as an indicator that marks up. And if you want the indicator, it's this one: new week opening gap, new day opening gap by Kryptonite. Let's see, I'll open it up here. I don't see it. Oh, here it is at the very bottom. Weekly opening gap, Kryptonite. Thanks for that question. Chris, just curious, where are you chiming in from? Where are you located? Okay, sweep it a low, take out the high, looking for longs. So this would be the setup here. Raleigh. Oh, okay. Welcome, Chris. I'm originally from Charlotte. I live in Arizona now. I've been here for the last 6 years, but I spent my entire life growing up and early adulthood in Charlotte. Yeah, I understand. I'm kind of in the same boat where I can pass and I can win trades, but it's that consistency and not blowing accounts by over leveraging. That's really the issue. Is it's containing leverage and building slowly. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, there is about a 30-second lag somewhere in there, just to make sure the feed is good, but that's done by YouTube. There's nothing on my end I can do to change that. Let's see if this setup produces a winner at the 30% level. We moved at least about 80%. I'm gonna go below this swing low here. Just move to stop there. I only did that because it went about 90% and decided to not complete the trade. So I just want to make sure it doesn't turn around on me and produce a loss after giving me almost 90% of it. There it is. Okay. All right. So just as we started into the lunchtime, we see that it did give us a setup finally, and it produced a winner. So that was a good way to, I guess, close out the AM session. Going to take a short break for about 45 minutes, and then we're going to join again. We're going to come back on for at 1 o'clock from 1 to probably 4 o'clock today. I think I'll go the full session, and we're going to do a PM session. So hope everyone can join. Chris, again, thanks for joining in, and hope to see you at 1 o'clock. Thank you.